All right, man, peace. So, brothers, one of the core tenets of Marxism is the promotion of chaos so that you can bring in your own order. So, therefore, what we're going to see systematically occur in the three major team sports in America is that there's going to be an attempt to normalize the promotion of chaos, not only before the events, but also during the events. Particularly if some of the agents of chaos that have been implanted throughout the three major sports leagues are unable to get or garner the attention that they seek after in some of their quote-unquote protests during the national anthem. If some of these assets see that they're not getting any type of feedback from what they're doing, the attention mongering, they're going to try to take it to some events that occur during the game or some type of situation that occurs during the game or at halftime or what have you. So watch for that. I bring all this up because Major League Baseball recently started their season a few days ago, and there are many Major League Baseball players who are now utilizing the quote-unquote Kaepernick style protest. Please keep in mind once again that they have no real solution and no end game. So you're going to protest until what exactly occurs? Until Breonna Taylor's shooters get arrested, quote-unquote, the cops who killed her on the night of March 13th? Is that what you're going to protest until? Are you going to protest until there's equality in America, which is never going to happen? Like, what exactly are you doing? Why are you doing it? You're trying to, quote-unquote, bring attention to certain things that you think need to have issuance paid to them? Where are we going with this? That's how you know that Marxism is a virus that spreads. And if you don't understand what it is, it will definitely cause a plague throughout your entire society. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Back to the show. My name is Evan, along with Michael J. Babcock. Yo, what's up? Two-time WNBA champion Renee Montgomery is here.
Hello, hello.
All right, so pro sports are back. Baseball has gotten started, and there's already controversy. The Giants played the A's on Monday night, and before the game during the night.
Let me also say this. The San Francisco Giants playing against the Oakland A's is not exactly the type of baseball game that you want to use as a litmus test for Marxism/wokeism, because that is in the Bay Area. So one would expect that if there were assets or agents of chaos in the major leagues that were going to be used to promote that chaos factor or that anarchy factor, you would expect it to be at its highest or at its zenith in a game involving the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland A's.
A handful of players on both sides decided to take a knee and continue Colin Kaepernick's kneeling protest, demonstration rather, during the national anthem.
What's so interesting is that so many of these people are quote-unquote continuing Colin Kaepernick's protest, but he's not continuing it. He's nowhere to be found. He's not on the internet. He's not on social media. Where is this person who supposedly started this this movement? Allegedly started this movement. I've told you, brothers, that Colin Kaepernick's purpose was to create chaos and freneticism in the NFL, to bring cultural Marxism into the NFL, so that the NFL could be used as a hub to promote social Marxism or cultural Marxism to society at large. That was his sole purpose. His mission is accomplished. So that's why this notion that the NFL was going to bring Kaepernick back into the league, it never made sense to me, because it was very obvious to me that he does not want to be there. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen on a narrative-driven level, but legitimately he has no intention of being an NFL quarterback ever again. He just doesn't. He'll make more money off the field now, especially through these various liberal businesses and Marxist forces that are sponsoring him and have been sponsoring him for the last 4 years or so. So no, he's not at home suffering in silence like the media is trying to make people believe, or he's a martyr who died for the cause. He's not even quite sure what his cause is. That's why he will not give interviews or grant interviews.
And President Trump is reacting to it in a strong way. But take a look at the video real quick. Through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watch. It sounded like a glee club singing it. I mean, beautiful, but yeah, man.
This will last most likely for about a month. And then after that, Major League Baseball is going to have to start developing contingency plans once they see the ratings dropping. Because once again, 80 to 85% of the viewership of Major League Baseball is so-called white people. The vast majority of them most likely conservative Caucasians. And these Major League Baseball players, for the most part, are overpaid anyway. They have no salary cap. So this is going to be used as justification to take away the salary cap. Once again, Marxism always ends up with the proletariat being even more disenfranchised than he originally was.
Hey, look, you can see a handful of players took a knee. A lot of players stood up, and I know there were some questions about how our team's going to handle this. If some players want to kneel and some players want to stand, you're seeing it right now. Some did, some didn't, and they went on and played a big.
I wonder what this nigga's praying for. Is he praying for a hug?
It worked out. The problem after this, President Trump decided to go to Twitter, and it seems like he was calling out the players who decided to take a knee, saying, quote, "Looking forward to live sports," Trump said, "but anytime I witness a player kneeling during the national anthem, a sign of great disrespect for our country and our flag, the game is over for me."
And believe it or not, the vast majority of people in America agree with him. Once again, if you're going to protest something, you protest that thing. If you're against abortion, you go in front of the abortion clinic to protest what's going on within that clinic. You don't go to work, clock in, and say, before I start my shift, I want to start this protest against abortion. They will call you clinically insane and they will fire you. Simple as that.
So he probably also didn't like when he flipped the channel and he saw the Padres.
And for the people who say, well, the reason why Kaepernick was doing it was to bring attention to what was going on, he's Colin fucking Kaepernick. He's a star quarterback in the NFL. We live in the age of social media. He could have gone and driven in front of any local police station in the Bay Area and did the same exact protest, filmed it, and placed it on the internet, and he would have received the same amount of attention without the quote-unquote chaos factor, aka the divisiveness. That's how you know that the goal was to promote divisiveness, quote-unquote divisiveness. I put that in quotes because America's always been divided. It still is divided, and it always will be divided. But for those who are intent on trying to push forth this false notion that America is unified or can be unified, they like to use that term divisiveness. And it is apropos depending on the narrative.
And he saw Angels pitcher Kenyon Middleton, who was also taking a knee and raising his fist during the anthem.
Kenyon Middleton. I wonder if that's another tortured mulatto.
Which you can see right there.
We also see two so-called black men who are standing at attention for the national anthem. So their attitude is, look, we both read the mission statement on the Black Lesbians Matter website. We're not getting involved in this fuckboy shit. We trying to get paid.
Look, I think that the president and a lot of people who are critical of kneeling demonstrators are going to have to accept the fact that this is going to happen across all sports and it's not going away.
Well, I want to see if it's going to happen at NBA games because they have a provision that stops the NBA players from protesting during the national anthem. The NBA recently started their Black Lives Matter bubble tournament with some scrimmages. I'm not quite sure if there were players there who were getting down on one knee Kaepernick style. But I'm going to be very interested to see if there will be any players on either the NBA or the WNBA side who are going to be willing to do that. Especially since that has already been collectively bargained. When it comes to baseball, I'm pretty sure this shit is probably going to last about a month, and then after that, they're going to start trying to develop some provisions to stop people from doing this. Because number one, Major League Baseball is a majority Caucasian sport. So these type of protests are not going to catch on in that sport to the degree that you would see in the NFL. Now the NBA, once again, they're caught in a catch-22 because David Stern stopped any protest during the national anthem a very long time ago. So I want to see if these guys are actually about what they claim to be about, and they're going to break that stranglehold or those shackles that the NBA has on them and their inability to protest the quote-unquote national anthem. Because remember, they're free over there, right? They're super woke on the NBA side.
I'm soon, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, look, they can't do anything to change it, so they can either...
Oh, yes, they can. They just have to take their time. They can do something, they just have to take their time.
And continue to watch the sporting events, or maybe you have a whole group of people. What really breaks down to essentially half of the country that doesn't watch teams or organizations or leagues that allow kneeling or who have players who kneel.
I think that is more than half of the country.
That's going to be very interesting to see, and I could see that happening.
You think half the country is going to boycott professional sports?
No, but I think that more than half the country is going to find what's going on so distasteful, especially in light of what we now know about the Black Lesbians Matter movement and what we also know about their direct ties to Marxism, a lot of people are going to be overly disgusted by this, and they're going to show their disapproval in a myriad of ways. They're going to write letters to many of these organizations, to their public relations team, to the commissioners, so on and so forth. And due to the fact that most of these guys are just trying to be seen and just trying to be a part of something, you know, liberals have these phrases that they use to try to bully people into going along with their agendas. They say things like optics or quote unquote the right side of history. Well, were the two brothers who were at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, John Carlos and Tommy Smith, I believe their names were they truly on the right side of history when you look at how their lives turned out and nothing changed? And then on top of that, they were Marxists. Did they really change anything? The answer is no.
Just take a knee during the national anthem.
Look, people generally don't agree and take this broad action together. So I would be surprised if like 175 million people decided not to watch sports. But I do.
No, people are going to watch, but you are going to notice that the viewership will drop, especially systematically over the course of months, depending on how much this stuff catches on.
There will be a large group of people who will say, I'm not going to watch the NFL, I'm not going to watch the NBA, baseball, because I don't agree with the kneeling.
Yeah, Babcock, and you'll probably be one of them.
I think that will happen.
Yeah, I think that there will be a large amount of people that say they will not watch the sports because of these things. And I think that that same group, a large percentage of them, will still watch the sports and say that they're not watching the sports because that's just what people do. It's the same that people complain and then don't vote. It's just, people love to complain. So
I agree with that. I also agree with portions of what she's saying about people claiming that they're not going to watch but actually watching. But I do think that there's going to be a certain component there of people who partially watch and then change the channel or try to find other things to do. And that's not really something that you want to meddle with if you're running a sports league and you have to continue to generate billions of dollars to pay these players.
Complain about the sport. However, I do think that their channels will be tuned in. I think that, like Babcock said, whether you like it or not, the kneeling, the protests, any type of show from athletes, it's going to be here to stay. Yeah. So,
according to you, good luck with that. Everything has a beginning and an end, believe me. And if the people feel that turned off, that alienated by what they're seeing, eventually they will leave. You could be the best significant other in the world to your mate. If you decide that you believe that you're irreplaceable in the eyes of that person, go ahead and start antagonizing them more and more. Eventually, they'll say, fuck you.
You're going to have to just get with it.
I think one of the people who's going to...
That's definitely the Marxist/woke mentality. We're not going to stop. You're just going to have to get with it. And really, the intention is to permeate the minds of the children. That's what their attitude has always been. That the current generation is going to feel offended, but we want to work on and target the children. We want to get them into the school system and see what we can get them to believe. Because their parents and grandparents are going to die off.
At it and complain about it, but ultimately watch it is going to be the president. I mean, we all know Trump is a big sports fan. He loves...
Look at this photo of Trump. Yo, this dude's fucking hilarious.
He loves football, and guess what? Key players are kneeling in both of those sports. Basketball, I don't know if he's a big...
I'm here, and I'm going to sign my own baseball contract. I'm getting more money than Mike Trout.
Fan, but I do know that he likes...
I don't think so.
I know he likes...
I don't think so, but people are just going to have to be tardy to the party. If you don't want to watch people kneel, just come to the games a couple minutes late, turn on the broadcast 10 minutes late, you will miss all of that, and then you will love the sport that you love.
Yeah, and look, it's going to happen, so deal with it.
The media refused to admit, they refused to acknowledge that the NFL ratings were dropping back in 2016 because of Kaepernick. The ratings shot back up the next year once he was gone. The same thing is going to happen this season in all three major sports, depending on whatever the exploits are that are utilized. And the mainstream liberal media is going to try the same thing again. They're going to claim, well, the ratings are down because, people have other things that they're trying to do right now. Cable service has been cut. because people have lost their jobs. They're going to make up all these excuses. But at the end of the day, the ratings are going to drop because of silly shit like this. And the reason why it's silly is not because the intent is to improve the condition of so-called black people. The reason why it's silly is because there's no end game. This is not solution oriented. This is attention oriented. But anyway, peace.